There's strangers nearby.
No, it's just us.
I'm scared.
There's nothing to be scared of. No one's gonna mess with you, kid. What about that one?
That's Ursa Major.
And how about that big bright one?
Is it Earth?
Very good.
Did you ever see a whale?
No.
How about an elephant?
Earth isn't what it once was.
Is that why you left?
We left because we wanted something more. We're very lucky to have this place.
Okay, you step right here. Do you see anything? Remmy!
You have Remmy!
Yes!
You locked the door behind me.
Dad! Dad! Mom?
This place doesn't belong to you. And I've come a long way. I'm here to stay. I know how to get this place back on its feet. And I can protect you. But you can leave if you want.
Mom, we can leave now.
No, Rem, we can't.
So you want to know what's out there? Nothing. There's nowhere else left. Cities, other settlements, all gone. The sooner that you accept it, the sooner you realize we have everything we need. Right here.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cherry the Geek TV. I'm Joe Vanourney. Y'all just watched the trailer for the new film Settlers, which is available in select theaters now and available to rent and stream on all your video-on-demand platforms. Today, we have the writer and director of Settlers with us to talk about the film, Wyatt Rockefeller. Welcome to Cherry the Geek TV.
Hey, thanks. Great to be here.
So the film... It's kind of hard to categorize. It's set on Mars, so on the surface it's a sci-fi film, but there's also traces of Western tropes in it. So you can say it might be a Western. There's thriller elements to the film. It's a family drama. It's a survival story. A lot of different ways you can categorize it. You're the writer and director of the film. How do you describe the film? What category do you put it in?
Well, I think first and foremost, I would categorize it as a Western. And I mean that for really two reasons. One, it is people struggling to survive on the lawless fringes. And then secondly, I think Westerns are inherently immigrant stories. These are, and this family that we follow, they are effectively refugees from Earth. But Westerns are about people trying to build a life in a new place, and often a hostile place. And so that's why I think of it as a Western.
How'd you come up with the idea of the film? What was your original concept?
So it started really with a feeling. I was in the woods with my dad, and it was snowing. And you know, when it snows, it can absorb all the ambient noise to the point where it's actually really quiet in a way we almost never hear. And there was something very eerie about that. And I remember looking over at the tree line and imagining being watched by an unseen figure in the haze. And then looked up ahead at my dad and imagined a guy in his old coat patrolling the outskirts of his farm. Started to think about what he might be guarding against. And by the time we got inside, had basically the plot. But it was only when I later had the idea to set it on Mars as it may be one day when we're in the process of terraforming it. So making it to be like Earth, make it habitable, that I thought, hey, this really could be a feature. And that was because the setting unlocked all these thematic and visual opportunities.
Let's talk about your amazing cast. How great is Brooklynn Prince? She's been amazing since she came on the scene with the Florida Project. She's got this great Apple TV show, Home Before Dark. She's absolutely amazing. How did you cast her, and how she seems like she's easy? How old is she? 10?
She was 9 when we filmed this. She's 11 now, I think.
How easy is she to direct? Because when you watch her performance, she seems like the emotions that she portrays on her face, it's like she's thinking like an adult. And most child actors don't have her level. It's hard to describe what it is, but she's something. Talk about Brooklynn.
And she is in person too. I mean, she's just one of those kids when people meet, they're like, oh my God. I mean, I look up to her. I'll say, when we first started out on this journey, basically at the point where I had the script done, and it was just my wife and I. My wife is actually one of the producers on this. She and I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could find a kid like Brooklynn Prince? And then an agent, actually, we had basically sent the script to everyone we know and their mothers, and got a call out of the blue from an agent at UTA saying, hey, I read the script, I really like it. Who were you thinking for this? Turns out they represent her, and she and her parents really liked it and attached, and that's what got it going. And they really stuck with us through thick and thin. And I mean, it wouldn't have happened without them. That's a very easy thing to say. But yeah, I learned a lot from her. She is just amazing.
I got a great cast around her as well. Ismael Cruz Cordova, Sofia Boutella, Jonny Lee Miller, Nell Tiger Free. Talk about them. What did you see in them? And what were some of the reasons that you chose them for their particular roles?
Well, again, I mean, they were all easy choices, right? I mean, we were lucky to have each of them, and I think we were able to punch above our weight in each case because each role is meaty. You know, that each one was an opportunity for the actors to really sink their teeth into a complicated character, and everyone in this film is complicated. And again, I learned so much from each of them. Each of them has a very different approach to acting, and really, for me, it's the fun of it is the collaboration and trying to give them the space to really make choices. And I think they all wanted to see before signing on that I had a clear vision for this. They wanted to understand how I imagined the roles and how each of their characters engaged with this world, this very trying, isolated environment. Because I really think the villain of the movie is their isolation. It's not Jerry. They're all just doing what they think is best given the circumstances.
Well, they're isolated in this amazing environment, Mars, but obviously you didn't shoot the film on Mars. Where was the film shot to represent the Mars landscape?
So we shot in Vuilsdrift, South Africa, which is right up on the border with Namibia. And it's remote. It is 7 hours from Cape Town, which is the closest city. And it was hot as hell. It was, I think, the hottest place on planet Earth a couple of weeks after we shot. And we contended with sandstorms and actually a lightning storm at one point with a deluge that almost destroyed the set in a place where it does not rain. But actually that experience, those trying days, I would say brought us closer together. It actually improved morale just because, you know, we stuck it out together and got through it. And also it was worth the trip. It was worth the discomfort because we were able to provide the actors with a truly isolated environment and 360-degree sets that just really allowed them to get into the mindset and immerse themselves in the mindset of these people who are really out on their own.
Let's talk about that 360-degree set. That's amazing production design from Noam Piper. I want to live there. Like I'm looking at the set. I'm like, oh, this is such a cool house. Like I want to be there. So talk about working on that, the production design, and how amazing that was.
Well, you weren't alone. Actually, Brooklyn really wanted to do a sleepover there uh, one night, at least one night, we didn't end up doing that because it was just really hot and the scorpions crawling around. But it was building those sets, designing those sets was also a really fun collaboration. Because it is in this remote place, and it's the way we thought of it, it was like effectively this sort of franchise homestead. You get your package of your home and your greenhouse and your robot and everything you need to basically seed and green your little plot on Mars. And so this would be one of thousands around the planet. And using that as the backdrop, we really did have to think through every single thing that was, that you see in the frame. Why is it there? Why did it make the trip? Why was that useful or something that they wanted? And that was really fun. And Noam took that and really created designs that were intended to look modular. So everything was either, shipped and unpacked or 3D printed right there. That was the idea. And then he also was able to build them about 20% bigger than the initial designs. And that's really so that we could move through it rather than having to create, movable walls for the camera.
You mentioned the robot, Stevie the robot. There's been a lot of robots in film. Star Wars films have hundreds of different designs that people are familiar with. How hard was it to come up with a concept for a robot that hasn't been seen before, but that also can evoke a bit of a personality?
Yeah, so it was a really, really fun challenge. I mean, I grew up poring over those books from Industrial Light and Magic and Weta Workshop and all those other shops where you'd see all the prototypes of the different creatures that they create for Star Wars and other films. And those were just so cool because when you see the films, you think, oh, well, of course, that's how R2-D2 looks. But in fact, there was all these various iterations to get to a point that actually made sense within the world. And Steve, our Steve is a mix of VFX for the more elaborate movements and a puppet. And we really had to use the puppet as much as possible and wanted to, one, because we wanted something for the actors to play off of, but also for budget reasons, VFX is just expensive. But so it made for a really, really fun collaboration between the puppeteers, the creature builders, and the VFX artists to come up with something that really felt both original, but I'd say that originality came from the fact that we were really thinking about what is his function within the world, and that function was what informed all the decisions around his design. So to give you an example, originally he was going to be on wheels, more like the Mars rovers as they are today. But we realized he needs to tread carefully over what would hopefully one day be more green soil, and therefore he should be on legs.
So this is your first feature film. You've done some documentaries and shorts. This is your first feature. What were the biggest challenges making the film? I know you talked about the isolation and the heat. Was that the biggest challenge? And what were let's say the biggest surprise that you didn't expect going in, something that you learned like, oh, I didn't expect that this was going to happen on the film?
It's a good question. Let's see. I think, in some ways, the environmental effects probably were the biggest challenges, but I have already talked about that. Because this was my first feature and people were taking such a gamble on me, I was really the hump that people had to get over. It was always something that we thought, okay, we're going to need to will this into existence. And we were pleasantly surprised, actually, that we were able to attract the kind of talent that we did. And again, I think it's because of that each role was meaty. And so it was actually able to bring the film into a bigger scale than we initially intended. The flip side of that, though, is, when you're punching above your weight, you have less negotiating power, less leverage. And so that comes at a cost. And those are lessons that I hope to take take with me to the next one. But what can I say? We lucked out, but we really figured we got to make our own luck. And so for those who are, trying to get their first feature off the ground, I would just say, focus on what you can control at any given moment. These things rise and fall in the perception of momentum. And there's always more that you can be doing that you don't have to wait for permission to do, and figure out what those things are so that you're always moving it to the next step.
So you got your first film under your belt. What's next?
Well, I'm actually writing right now a script about the man who killed Rasputin. So very different setting. It's basically Russia in the final days of the empire. And for me, even though this may seem completely discrete from Settlers, it is about people having to reckon with things that they would not consider in a million years, but they're now considering given the circumstances they find themselves in. And I find that just a very fascinating place to engage with characters, because it's people having to really take a good hard look in the mirror and decide, what am I really willing to do or not do?
Well, congratulations on Settlers. I wish you great success with it. Settlers is now playing in select theaters, and you can also rent it on all your video platforms or purchase it. And Wyatt, thank you so much for joining us on Cherry the Geek TV.
Hey, thank you. It's been fun.
Take care.